So, moving on. Speaking about L's, we have to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, and they just played against
The Cardinals.
the Cardinals. That's right. I was like, I just watched this game.
Yeah.
They just played against the Arizona Cardinals. Took a massive L, and I wouldn't say it's what we expected because going back into last week, you have the Dak Prescott injury against the New York Giants, and it then gave way for Andy Dalton. Only right there at the end of the game, it looked like he did okay because he ended up winning the game for them.
Yeah.
The Giants just couldn't stop him on defense, and it is what it is. But you lose your franchise quarterback, and we did a video on the fact of should Dak Prescott get paid?
Right.
You know, we were making jokes about how he's the comeback player of the year because that's all he does is he just falls behind and does really well to come back, but not enough to win.
Right.
And now we have this game with Andy Dalton. We get to see him take the helm of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And the score ends up being 38-10. Just like the Green Bay game.
Yeah. But they're okay. So in the second quarter, I think they got a field goal, and then it wasn't until almost the last minute.
The last 4 minutes.
The last couple minutes.
3 minutes of the game.
They got that touchdown. Finally, their first touchdown of the game, and it was just like, okay.
Yeah, and so.
And it was a pass interference that wasn't it?
Right,
it was a pass interference that put them in good position. So it was kind of like
because they were there for a while and
man,
right there trying to get the touchdown and every play.
So now you got to ask yourself: would you rather have the 10 points in the beginning of the game, or would you rather get the 10 points at the end of the game?
Yeah. So it's just, to me, it's like you're Jerry Jones. You see what happens, and you realize. No Dak, no comeback.
Right.
Like, that's it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. At least you came back with Dak to get close and have a chance at winning the game.
Yeah.
Now you see what your franchise is without Dak.
Yeah, exactly.
So now where does this put the
missing.
conversation as far as what is Jerry Jones thinking right now with his quarterback situation?
Right. But he should have just gave Dak a long-term contract, a long time ago. Mm-hmm. If you could give Tony Romo a long-term contract, within his first years, you should have just done that with Dak Prescott.
You know what the craziest part about this is the fact that if he actually gave him the contract when the contract was first in discussion, instead of waiting the year and then waiting the other year, it would have been way cheaper than whatever he's asking for now.
Right.
Or before he got injured, I should say. And you would have been a happier person. Dak would have been happier. Who knows what that would have done for the team?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, look where you are now. You lose Dak, and immediately everyone's like, Dak's in his contract here. That's it. Jerry Jones has let him go. That's it.
It's just
done.
one of
He's
those
letting him go.
It's one of those times where
and
it's
then
like
you see what he does for the franchise.
Right. It's just one of those things that like when you look at it like from an outside view perspective, it's just so many variables that could have changed, one season or could have changed another season had they just gotten along with each other or had they just paid Dak what he wanted to begin with. And it becomes one of those things now where it's like, if you do let him go, then there's other teams that's going to be eyeing Dak Prescott because they know what he can do. And they're like, hey, maybe we can build on that system or build on his skill or make, his skill different or something or not different, but like, work around his skill and stuff.
There's a lot of teams out there that need a good quarterback.
That can use
the Jets.
Oh, right, yeah.
I'm surprised Flacco's even still in the league, but that's a whole other conversation. But like, as far as Dak Prescott though, like, saddened by his injury, he is going to come back. Will he be with the Cowboys? I have no idea because if I'm looking at what Jerry Jones is thinking right now, they're going to tank this season as it is. Their backup quarterback, the third string, like, I don't really know what he's capable of, but I don't see them winning any games. Andy Dalton showed today that he's just so off. I don't know what kind of practice maybe he's had, what kind of catching up he had to do. But, like, he's been there since the beginning of the season, just the same as everybody else. So, I don't know. Like, maybe he'll show improvement on the next game. But I expected him to play better, even in the system, and just with this game. But he didn't, and it was it's getting a landslide. And that's not to take away from anything the Cardinals did, because they're a team that's up and rising.
Oh, definitely, especially like Murray and Hopkins,
Mhm.
they're connecting real well,
Yep.
and that's probably one of the biggest things. That was probably one of the best pickups I consider off season for
Mhm.
any team. Was that the Cardinals acquiring someone like Hopkins for what? For what was it, like a second round pick? It wasn't even like a first round pick that they gave up.
Mhm.
They gave up like one pick and something else, right?
Yeah,
And like
I don't recall, but
I remember it was a trade that was
Yeah.
kind of like, I think any team would have done that for someone like Hopkins.
Yeah.
And look exactly what happened to the Texans as soon as they let go of Hopkins. They started the season, what was it, 0-4.
yeah.
And it became so bad that they had to fire their head coach because they're like, why the did you let go of Hopkins?
Yeah.
And it was like, it's very apparent that he became one of their key players for the Cardinals. And them, hitting it off and connecting like that, it's just, it's one of those crazy things where you can tell that they're a powerhouse team. So.
Yeah, and they definitely showed that here today against a Cowboys defense that we knew was horrible to start, but at least they had an offense with Dak.
Right. Yeah.
There was some semblance
There was some
of an offense.
sort of like
So-
there was some positive thing with that while Dak was still their QB1. So
So, what do you think? You think Jerry Jones is letting go of Dak Prescott?
there's just like so many variables that like you just don't know because it's one of those things where you just don't know what's going on in that front office, what kind of conversations they're having, because now you could definitely tell they're gonna have that conversation whether they want to keep Dak or they want to let him go. Because the problem is even if they let him go, he could go to a team that could utilize him better. What if like the same thing? I always bring this up. What if like the same thing that happened with DeMarco Murray, ends up happening with Dak Prescott? Maybe he's not gonna be as good on another team, but maybe he could be better or whatever.
Right.
Because it all depends. So it's one of those variables that you just don't know, and it's one of those years too that you just can't necessarily be 100% on it. But I think, for me, in my opinion, I think they should probably just give him a long-term contract like they should have done a long time ago.
They should have. They hadn't. And before today's game, I was convinced Jerry Jones was letting go of Dak Prescott.
Right.
Before today. Then he saw Andy Dalton play. He was like, oh, well.
Yeah, if this is what it's going to be.
But then I thought to myself, I was like, what quarterbacks are coming up in the next draft? There's Trevor, I think, but
I haven't kept up with college,
it's just, if you do so bad in the rest of the season with Andy Dalton and your third string quarterback, what are you really going to do? Are you taking Dak Prescott back? Are you going to finally then pay him the money? Like who?
Right.
When Dak Prescott got injured, everyone said Jerry Jones won. He played the cards right, gave him the franchise tag, and on a business aspect of everything, he won. And then you see this game, and you're like, no, he lost. Fuck that. You lost. You should have prayed for him to never get injured or something, because you needed him bad.
Yeah.
So before today, I was convinced he was dropping Dak Prescott, but whether or not he still does is
it's up in the air.
It's up in the air.
Yeah.
So